Okay, now we're going to continue our discussion of simple machines by talking about the wedge. And so a wedge is going to have a certain width, so the distance from here to here. Okay, so that's going to be the width. Okay, and then it's also going to have a certain length, L. So the distance going from here to here is going to be the length of the wedge. Now you are going to apply a force in this direction on the top of the wedge. So pretend that it's an axe, and so when you bring the axe head down, you're applying a certain amount of force. So that's going to be the force going into the wedge. And then the wedge is then going to cause wood. So let's say that you're embedding it into a piece of wood. It's going to cause the wood to split because the wedge is going to apply a force like this, and that is going to be the amount of force that is coming out. So the formula that we're going to use is that the force going in times the distance going in is going to be equal to the force going out times the distance going out. So in this particular case, the force going in multiplied by the length, so notice the length goes this way and it matches up with the force that's going this way, and that's going to equal the force out like this multiplied by the distance going out like this, which is going to be the width of the top of it. Okay, so if you wanted to have a wedge that could do more, okay, so let's say that we have this one and it's a certain length and you're putting in a certain amount of force. Well, how could you increase the force that's coming out? Well, you're going to reduce the width of this thing, so that if this thing is only this big, then it's going to be able to exert more force than what the original one was. So decrease the amount of width, and then that will increase the amount of force that comes out. It's also very similar to if you're going to cut your steak. Do you want to cut your steak with a dull knife or with a sharp knife? Well, with the sharp knife. So what does it mean to have a sharp knife? Well, that means that the blade is going to be thinner if you sharpen it. So similarly here, if you make this thinner, it makes it into a better wedge. Another thing is, if you were to take this wedge and turn it on its side, okay, then you're going to have something that looks like this, but that's a doorstop. So if you've ever used a doorstop, here's the door over here. So let's say that you kick the doorstop this way. Well, what's it going to do? It's going to put pressure on the door, and it's also going to be pushing this way on the floor. But it's going to put pressure on the door, and it's going to keep the door from closing. So this is an example of a simple machine. Okay, take a break. When we come back, we're going to look at the screw.